Howdy. So this is the last of the repurposed footage videos. I appreciate you bearing with me in this, strange time. It was stranger, so it's, hopefully improving. But anyway, today we're going to talk about interview skills. And I'll just let Mason take it away.
Paraphrasing or restatement, so rephrasing the content that has been said, reinforces the fact that you are in fact listening, which kind of re-establishes some rapport, and it also checks in with your client to make sure that you've interpreted the information correctly. Summarizing, paraphrasing combined with reflection essentially pulls together the meaning of several responses. It is used to organize previous information, can be used to direct the interview. Active listening skills, clarification, asking questions to better understand statements made during the interview. Reflection and empathy and understanding, these are all active listening skills. Rephrasing the feelings associated with what was said. Reinforced listening verifies feelings, establishes rapport, maintains rapport. So there's some ways to quantify understanding. Carl Rogers has a 5-point understanding scale based on degree to empathy. Levels 1 and 2 represent no or superficial understanding. Level 3 requires enough understanding to be able to repeat back what the other person has said. This is like minimum level needed for effective interviewing. Ideally, you get a little higher than this. So levels 4 and 5. So responses not only include accurate levels of empathy, but the response adds noticeably to the interviewee's response. So you empathize and understand so well that like they can state the interviewee's emotions as well or better than they can. Level 5 includes not only accurate levels of empathy, but the response adds substantially to the interviewee response. There's tons of examples of like what initial goals are for interviews. Identifying information, reasons for referral source, parental objection. I'm not going to read these all. You can, but there's a lot. Interviews, a lot of purposes, a lot of goals. But there are 4 kind of general types of interviews. We've got the evaluation/diagnostic interview, a structured clinical interview, case history interview, mental status examination. So evaluation/diagnostic is often unstructured or semi-structured. You tend to start with open-ended questions. You maintain an atmosphere of listening, facilitating, and clarifying. You can utilize confrontation, in which the interviewer points out a discrepancy or inconsistency, so like between is versus wants to be, between says and does, between respondent's perception and the interviewee's experience. So you can confront, but do it deliberately, not just. So details can be filled in later. So this is like with more direct clothesline questions, but this should only occur if you can't find it any other way, if time is limited, or the respondent is just not cooperating. And when I say respondent, I mean interviewee. So structured clinical interview, this is a specific set of questions in a set order, combined with a specific set of rules, probing, etc. So often, for at least for clinical interviews, following the diagnostic statistical criteria for disorders defined in the DSM, every version since the 3rd version, which so 1980. So it's been a 40-year thing, and so it makes sense to do this if the disorder has specific criteria for a diagnosis. So then you can link them to a set of questions that should help identify those criteria. Now, unfortunately, this assumes that the respondent is being obvious as well as, or honest, as well as capable of self-observation. So this was, so one of the first to do this was a structured clinical interview for the DSM-3, so SCID. There are other examples, referral decision scale, diagnostic interview schedule, Edinburgh's postnatal depression scale, diagnostic interview schedule for children. But it does assume that respondents are honest and capable. which is a big. Now, you can also do case history interview / biographical sketch. With open-ended interviews, you can learn a great deal about a respondent and what's important to them. So case histories fill in the rest of the info that doesn't come up in the other interviews. Typically, it's made of primarily direct close-ended questions. So it's stylistically very different from the others that we've already talked about. So it's all about very specific questions versus tell me about or all this these aren't open-ended. So these should include work history, medical history, family information, and family history. So especially members that have had similar difficulties, major life events, education. So demographic stuff goes in here too. It's often computerized, but it lacks that facial and body language info, which can be. Now, a mental status examination is often used for just diagnostic purpose, or to diagnose psychosis, brain damage, other major mental problems, disorders, challenges. And these examinations include information about a person's appearance, attitudes, general behavior, emotions, intelligence, attention, as much context as possible about their minds. Now, interviewee issues. So you can become a better interviewer. It's learnable. It's a skill. So many rules and skills have to be put together with a lot of practice. So it is a skill. You can develop it, and you're going to be terrible at. You improve with practice. That's just all the human condition. Interviewer reliability can fluctuate wildly, and it's thought that because of its differential goals, positive versus negative, that's where some of the reliability comes from. Validity studies need to have interviews that focus on specifics rather than just kind of broad, general, sweeping, saying interviews are low on. So here are some big, or at least some issues. There's tons of them. Halo effect is an evaluation made during the initial interaction that clouds later evaluations. So if you first impressions play into this, also attraction. So if someone is objectively more attractive, tend to have a positive halo effect. Social Psych does some cool work on this. So general standoutishness. So one primary characteristic causes bias and prevents objectivity. It clouds it. So culture. So can an interviewer from one culture evaluate a respondent from another? Eye contact differs. And so in some cultures, eye contact good. Others, not so good. And so but there's more than these. Inexperience influences validity, obviously. There's just tons of, or at least it influences reliability, which in turn lowers validity. So yeah, there's a lot of issues with interviewing, but it's an important skill, and it's one that is integral to any of you who want to be clinicians or have any kind of semblance of testing that isn't just from the statistical side. Cool. So I'm going to render these and upload them, and it'll take about as long as to record the lecture as to upload. So I'm going to keep going, and hopefully you'll see another video uploaded today.
And that's a wrap for interview skills. I will see you all in the next video. And we'll go back to high production quality for the most part. I may intersperse some other videos. Yeah. So I'll see y'all later. Bye.